Yeah. I mean, look at these guys. Their stroke, they are cruising, it looks like.
Yeah, they're catching this
They're
bump.
not, but they just look effortless, and that's how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah. See, they pick up speed when they feel like they're losing the bump, and then they're kind of cruising when they're on the bump.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. They're just riding that bump.
That's textbook right there.
Lauren, it's a fun day for them.
Oh yeah. They're that stroke rate's pretty low.
Look at that. They're in the heat of competition, and that's the slowest turnover I have ever seen out of a Shelva crew in that race.
And you know what is typical is that towards the ending of the race is when these guys really start to turn on.
Right.
You think like there's no way they can't maintain this pace the whole day, and then with the last 10 miles, it's almost like they get faster.
So they've already gapped the field. They've already got a good lead on the entire field. As you can see, our aerial coverage turns around and look towards the back. And boy, I don't know. The rest of the field better analyzed it as well.
Right. Yeah, and definitely cool to see us from a totally different perspective. And you kind of, sometimes you're like, wow, it was really like that? I don't remember that.
It's amazing to see the different angles, because it really, like, our view of it is, like, so much more square and up close and, like, this box area, right?
Right.
So we're looking at Shelva now, and Lauren, when you look at this stroke, when you look at what they're doing and how their heads are down, and from a strictly spectator point of view, I can see how their stroke rate is changing so visibly.
Yeah, like I was talking about, like gears, like shifting on a car. That's very applies. I would
earlier about the stroke rate of Shelva. Take a look at their stroke rate, and what does this tell you? Tell us for the inexperienced.
Exactly what we were talking about. I mean, to paddle that relaxed, they can get deep. They're long. It's extremely efficient stroke. Now that's not their surfing stroke, so they'll come up as they get a lift from the swell. And the thing that's kind of interesting about that is you think of the person in one seat as the one that's setting the pace and the stroke, but as Lauren will tell you, it's probably 3 or 4 seat that will signal when they're going to take the stroke up and chase one of those bumps, because you feel it more from the middle of the boat. And they can even do that without having to say anything many times. They can,
oh my gosh.
Their body, just a little anticipation will signal to the rest of the crew, and they can go in one stroke, go up and
That's
and
what's
chase them.
amazing to
See, they're still surfing that same bump. They would just pop it a couple times to stay on it, and then lengthen out.
No, it's great.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about.
So this is fun right here.
Oh yeah.
Right? They're having fun.
Yeah, they're pushing. I mean, this is work. Like this Pailolo, the Pailolo channel, the race, that is like smoking, put the seatbelt on, get a mask in seat 1, and let's go. This channel is still fun, but you're bleeding for the bump. It's, you're getting, it's like small little, like, okay, it's running, take a breath, okay, push again. So it's not like smoking
you won't get really
runs.
long runs. Yeah.
Unless when you get into Moanalua Bay, sometimes that big bump kind of running into Diamond Head, you can
That'll clean
yeah.
up. But these steersmen and crews will be finding the bump in that. Most people will look at that ocean and go, where's the swell?
Right.
But they see it, they feel it right there.
Right there's one.
See, so it looks like it's going all different directions, and it is to a certain extent, but there's an underlying ground swell,
Right.
There's an laid over the top wind swell.
And the secret is to use all of them to your advantage. Like maybe get the back of the big one to push you onto the small one that's a little bit faster, then move to the right, and then drop back down to the left. It's like, it's a lot of different factors that come into it. On a gap or, close a door on someone.
Another change coming up here. Now you see, so these guys jumping out to the right, if they don't jump out clean, they push the boat into the guys that are coming in. And now you're bailing, you're dead in the water.
Up again. See, I don't know. What's your theory on that?
Well, it depends on the ocean. If you can get in clean and get going, we prefer to get the water out with the zipper open, because we don't want to close the zipper and then go back and open it again, because that takes more time.
We're talking about seconds.
Seconds,
In
yeah.
a
But they can
41-mile race, you're coming
this
down
is
to
the
seconds. Right.
Yeah.
The other thing that we kind of play off of is when the boat comes to a stop because the paddlers are hitting it, all the water in the boat runs to the front,
And slows the boat down.
but it's all in a big ball.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So if you
easier
jump
to
in and the boat, as soon as it starts moving again, all that water comes back in a big, deep wave. So if you can get a couple full buckets right then, you can get a big bites out of it.
Right here for everyone watching back in Tahiti. But again, anything can happen, and I think the farther into the channel we get, a little bit, there should be more action.
We've been following this race for several years now with Ocean Paddler TV. And every year the channel shows us something different. Some years with the light winds, the crews gotta really slog it out and they really have to put out way more effort. Today, one of those days when we're seeing the crews ride more bumps and actually kind of cruise up on their turnover rate. And like Walter was explaining, it all depends on where they are with regard to the bump and whether they're chasing it or riding it or trying to pick up another one.
Yeah, and it's coming from Hawaii to do this race. It's a lot of logistics. But imagine coming from people coming from Washington, Tahiti, Canada. I mean, these guys, the planning that has to come into it. Like you have to start burning whatever the reserve fuel in the tanks for sure. There's a great shot of these guys, these younger. I think this is Flugers.
This is incredible. We started this a few years ago with this coverage, and now the coverage is even better with all this aerial coverage. Look how close we can look at. And what do you see when you look at that, Lauren, in terms of stroke rate?
Their stroke rate is definitely higher. They're a little bit more of an aggressive stroke rate, which is great, which is fine. And they look efficient, and they're just hammering away, and you can just see they're really trying to use every little bump to their advantage.
And the difference being, when you're a surfer, you just look at waves coming from basically one direction from where you're surfing. But this one, in the channel, they've got, like Walter was explaining, ground swell as well as wind swell up on the top, and oftentimes coming from different directions. So it's hard to connect them all.
Yeah, so it's really, that's a key, is to use all of them to your advantage. Because the big ground swell is harder to get on. And it maybe necessarily isn't as fast as the smaller bump running towards the island, running up a little bit more north. But if you can use the back of the big one to help push you onto the small one, it's all about opening up these little pockets and doors to your advantage and really keep the boat moving.
Now, we always talked up.
I don't feel like we had as many opportunities for that in our race, and we really just had to battle for any little ripple. But it looks like the men are keeping the ball moving.
When I look at this and I see how hard the struggle is, even on a day like this where conditions are favorable, I'm glad for the Hawaiian Airlines direct flight coming in.
Yeah, that would be your next best option to spectate, is to look down from the airplane.
Oh, look at that bump that they got.
This is, and then, that's that bigger groundswell. But
And they're on
here it is,
another one already.
the nose is dropping, and then they're going.
And even from a escort vessel, the responsibility that they have to the crew, to the changes is...
And the strategy coming from the escort boat back to those guys.
You can never lose sight of where you're at and where you're going at the same time. It's just this orchestrated, choreographed, everyone is on the same rhythm.
Yeah, and Kalai Miller's on that boat.
Look how fast that is. Look at that one.
Yeah, look
at the hull's out of the water.
This is some really good surfing. This is what we were talking about earlier, about maybe this is the excitement. This is what these guys
and look at this
are hoping for.
Look at this big one they're on right now.
And this is where what will open that door on your competition, if you can connect better than the person in front of you.
Look how fun that looks.
And when I say person, I mean the other canoe. Yeah.
Right.
Geez. But the reality of what's happening here today is these guys are so fast today that if we were to drop back with this boat to the rest of the field to check out maybe your favorite paddler, your family, your friend, your team, your crew, your club, we wouldn't be able to get back up to these guys because they are so blisteringly blazing fast today. And it's just a joy watching them do their thing, watching their steersmen encourage them, whip them into waves. And as you're seeing here, as we've been able to see throughout the day from all the rest of the crews, it's a great day to be in the channel. It's a classic, beautiful, sunny Hawaiian day.
That's really what it's about.
That's why I think everybody, regardless of where they're at in terms of ability, they all cherish that chance to get in the canoe, whether racing or even practicing.
Yeah, yeah.
They have like 2 minutes.
I know,
And
I'm
they're
looking at
coming
my
up
phone
on the. They're. I mean, they might break it like
Is that
Jane
the buoy?
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Jane said, it might be a
It's
couple
close.
seconds, but look at
Yeah,
these guys
it's
are gunning
close. It's
They
close.
just did a water change, right? It's
Yeah.
fresh guys.
right here, and now it is. they've
Turn that
got-
corner and go.
They have less than like 500 meters to go right here, so let's see if they can do it.
Yeah, there's that last buoy. Let's go to Kalai.
So we've got the Dolan brothers,
Stephen Cranston.
and we've got Heath Hemmings, the legendary Heath Hemmings steering. Simeon, we've got oh my gosh, we've got I have to go find the roster. I'm having brain farts. It's been a long day. But yeah, it's like Angie was saying, it's a super fun group of guys. They kind of all just Bobby Pratt. A lot of them are younger dads, or they're just kind of coming together.
Is Bill Pratt in there as well? Did you
Pratt
say
is
Bill
there.
Pratt's
Bobby
in there?
Pratt, Bill Pratt. But these guys are totally moving this koa. Like you're talking about, how great would it? Look at it's totally possible and doable. And the special thing about these canoes is that they were talking about earlier also is that each one is different. Not one is the same.
It's got a personality to it, right?
And I
Yeah.
think also importantly, there's a mo'okuauhau, there's a genealogy to these canoes,
Yeah.
right? You can have canoes like Manuiva that's over 50, 60 years old, where your grandfather might have paddled in that same canoe to cross this very channel.